We start with how we got here, how we got to a place where we have an ultra-conservative Supreme Court majority that is taking America backwards. Because we didn't get here, actually, overnight. We can look back to 1991, where it all started, when U.S. senators disbelieved Anita Hill's testimony. And that gave us Justice Clarence Thomas. Then 9 years after that, in 2000, when the Supreme Court struck down a Florida ruling and made George W. Bush president, even though he lost the popular vote to Al Gore by over 500,000 votes. That gave us Justice Alito. 16 years after that, President Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to the court in 2016 didn't even get a Senate hearing because Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell refused to consider a nominee in an election year. Cue Justice Neil Gorsuch. Then, Republican senators refused to believe Christine Blasey Ford. And that gave us Justice Brett Kavanaugh. In 2020, McConnell pushed through the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett because this time, apparently, an upcoming presidential election doesn't matter at all. Barrett was confirmed on October the 31st, after Americans had already begun choosing their next president in early voting. It wasn't Donald Trump. Interesting. That short story comes from Lawrence Tribe, a Harvard law professor and constitutional law scholar who laid it all out for us on Twitter, because we need to know how we got to where we are before we can change direction to get to where we want to go. Professor Tribe joins me now. So, Professor, lay out for us why you tweeted this history of how we got this ultra-conservative Supreme Court and why you think it's important to remember how we got here.
Well, I tweeted it out because it seemed to me that the earthquake that the court is about to deliver, not only to abortion rights, but to rights of personal autonomy and privacy in many areas of the law, that earthquake was not the product of nature. It was the product of a carefully orchestrated set of events by partisan Republicans with an agenda to roll back the clock to a time when, under the original history of America, women really were not part of the Constitution. They were not involved in the writing of the Constitution. They didn't get the right to vote until 1920. And so we have this opinion by Alito saying, guess what? The old history of the United States was one in which women didn't really have rights. And because it's our job to transplant that original meaning to the current time, it's unfortunate, but the right of women to control their own bodies is not in the Constitution. It's not part of our misogynist tradition, and it's not explicitly mentioned. Of course, lots of things aren't explicitly mentioned. The Ninth Amendment tells us that rights that are not written down may nonetheless be protected. But I thought it was important to turn back the clock to the time when Justice Thomas, who was accused of having sexually harassed Anita Hill, got on the court mostly because Anita Hill was not taken seriously. She was not believed. And then Thomas became the fifth vote in the court's majority in Bush v. Gore, which gave the presidency ultimately by a 5-4 Supreme Court vote to somebody who lost the national popular vote by almost 600,000 votes. And it was a cascade from there all the way to the hypocrisy of Mitch McConnell, who said for a total of 293 days, we just can't get around to listening to any testimony from Merrick Garland because there's an election around the corner. And as soon as Trump became president, the seat that had been vacated by the death of Justice Scalia then goes to Justice Gorsuch. And as you recounted in your narrative, Justice Amy Coney Barrett gets confirmed to the Supreme Court essentially during the presidential election. So what we have is not any kind of consistent principle that accounts for where we are now, but we have a series of machinations, which makes it all the more outrageous that these 5 justices could turn back the clock on women's rights, deprive tens of millions of women in America of the right to control their lives and their bodies. And it means that we really need to take seriously the possibility of expanding the size of the court, or at a very minimum, making sure that people for whom we vote believe in the freedom of choice of women and an equality for women.
One of the things you mentioned is that through line, which is that we didn't believe the women. Going back to Anita Hill in the 1990s, we did not believe her. The senators did not. Going back to Kavanaugh, we did not believe Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. The senators did not. They voted to confirm both of the justices who were credibly accused. In terms of the idea that you have 2 credibly accused people who their accusation is that they took away the bodily autonomy from a woman, from another person, that they are going to be a part of the deciding majority in taking away bodily autonomy from millions of American women and people who can become pregnant. I mean, what does that say about where we are?
It says that we are trying, or at least a small minority of Americans are trying, because it's only a minority who believe in taking these rights away from women. A small minority of Americans are trying to erase women from our history, trying to deny the truth of their testimony, trying to disregard their place in American life. You know, Roe v. Wade was important because, among other things, it made it possible for women to enter the workplace without having to deal with unsafe and illegal abortions. It transformed American society. And yet Justice Alito, in this draft opinion, which at least tentatively had 5 votes on the court, and we'll see what happens in June, Justice Alito says people didn't really rely on Roe versus Wade. It's not like business decisions were made based on it. Again, he's erasing women's lives and the degree to which women could control their own lives because, like men, they were able to control their reproduction. So the meaning for America is that Justice Alito and the group of justices joining him are engaged in a process of cancellation that is really profoundly inconsistent with the American dream, with the idea of freedom and justice for all.
For all people. Lawrence Tribe, thank you so much for being here, Professor. Professor Tribe's latest book, To End a Presidency, The Power of Impeachment, is out right now. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.